Hey groupies, how's everybody doing today? Yes, I'm going to talk about idle air control motor valves. Motor valves. The reason I say motor is you have an electric motor with a plug that goes in it. Okay? Now, this design, and then of course you have your mechanical valve that the motor opens and closes. Alright? Alright, now, here just to get a good look at this. Okay, this idle air control valve, this goes on your Ford engines, your 4.6 and 5.4 V8s. Okay, now the way I came across this used when this is off of a 5.4, but it's the same as the 4.6. The only difference in the 5.4 and the 4.6 V8 Fords on these idle air controls, this one, see, the motor's a little longer. As we're on the 4.6, the motor's a little shorter, but you can put either one of them on either engine and they do the same thing. It doesn't make any difference. I don't know, maybe they made the motor a little longer on the 5.4 so they could charge more money for them. I don't know. You know, there's so many crooks. But idle air control, okay, valves, which, you know, you got a valve in the front. All an IAC is, people, is an electric choke. That's all it is. It's an electric choke. Alright? I'll explain to you how that works. Alright, an electric choke. Alright, well, you take old style carburetors that were used up to 1989. My 89 Cadillac Brougham has the 307 cubic inch V8, still uses mechanical fuel pump with an old style 4-barrel carburetor. Okay, the plate on the front. Okay, that was your choke. When it was completely closed, it was mechanical. Okay, and it was a heat riser assembly, is the way those work. Some were electric. Alright, the plate would be closed. After the engine started, the choke would gradually open, so to let more and more air in. Okay, and while it's choked, of course the engine idles faster. Then as the choke opens, the engine starts idling slower, okay? Now, imagine this. If on the old style chokes, this couldn't happen on the old carburetors. What if the choke plate would keep opening, closing, opening, closing? The engine would idle up and down, up and down. And that is one of the telltale signs of a bad IAC, like on today's cars. Because see what happens, this valve in here, it has a spring on it, and then there's a rubber seal between these two holes where this little shaft is. Okay, these can get stuck in one position, or the spring can get weak, and what will happen, it'll slightly open and close, open and close. So does your car, when it's sitting in idle, just go, Okay, what that is the IAC, that valve, which is a rod in there, is opening, closing, opening, closing, opening, closing. Okay, is what's happening to it. And it needs to be cleaned or replaced, okay? But we'll get on how to clean those and replace them later on in this video. Okay, another symptom, and this does happen. I had one happen on me. You know, It was in a 2002 Lincoln, and it would only partially open. So when you'd rev the engine, it would sound like someone was blowing through a horn, going, it sounded just like a horn that would go through the air cleaner. And what it is because it only opened a partial tiny bit. See, and to where that it was the whistling of the air inside the throttle body that made a loud sound. Sometimes those will do that. Okay, other times, if they're stuck totally open, it's going to be very hard to start the engine. But once you get it started, they'll start after a while, usually, if they're stuck totally open. It's going to idle very low like the engine does after it's hot at the regular RPM, but it'll be very difficult to start it when it's cold. Alright? If one is stuck closed, they'll start alright. But then, man, they are going to run super rich after a while. Because, see, that, well, it's like on the old style carburetor. You close the choke plate, you keep running the engine. Usually, after the engine got warm, it would just shut the engine off because it would be too rich. On these, it could cause your engine to just shut off. After it got warm, the engine would just shut off because the IAC valve would not open on it, okay? But those are some telltale signs. But, you know, an engine that fluctuates at idle, you know, or they idle too fast, or you go to decelerate and the engine tries to shut off on you. It's these stupid IAC valves. Now, here's some things you can do. You can take them off. They say to use choke and carburetor cleaner. No, because this has a rubber seal in between these two holes where that shaft goes in. And then on one end, say you've got the spring on it. Okay, on the other end. Okay, on these things, what can happen if you use choke and carb cleaner? It can actually cause a cross-section leak. It's bad. The best thing to do, take like penetrating oil and just spray in these holes, and then set it right side up so it stays there a while. See, and that might break down any crap, you know, that's on this rod that goes back and forth inside. You know, and then pour it off. And then try to clean it up with paper towel or whatever, you know. And then fill it back up, you know, with WD-40 and just let it sit and then pour it off, you know, and then put it back on the vehicle. And then take a hammer and up here on the metal, just go walk, 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 walk. See, that'll help loosen it up, the valve up, if it's like stuck, you know, from carbon or whatever. But these are some things, people, that you can do, and make sure those plugs, you know, that are on these, make sure those are on there secure and that they're not corroded. You know, pull them off. Spray penetrating oil in the female plug that goes on the IAC, and then on the male plug that plugs into it, spray penetrating oil on it, you know? You know, penetrating oil is a non-conductive. It's not a conductor. So that way, you know, penetrating oil can cross between the ground wire and the positive, and it's not going to short circuit because it's a non-conductor. It's the same as Vaseline. Penetrating oil is the same as Vaseline. A lot of people don't know that. While I'm talking about it, quit buying dielectric tube grease or whatever. They quit doing that shit, people. Let me tell you something that's easy. Vaseline, petroleum jelly is the same damn thing, because Vaseline is not a conductor. You can't transfer electrical current from Vaseline You know, like I can put Vaseline all over, you know, a switch where you got the positive and the ground wire. And that Vaseline will not have a electrical crossflow because it's a non-conductor. Same thing with penetrating all people. But anyway, if you listen to what I'm saying, it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of money. Also, you know, the gaskets on these, you got to make sure the surfaces are clean because they can leak between this hole and this hole where the center of the gasket goes between these two holes. Or if they leak like on the outer part, that's going to cause an intake leak on your vehicle. So you got to be sure those surfaces are flat and clean and your gasket's good. You know, it can't be half-ass or whatever. And never over-tighten those. Get the bolt snug on them, but don't over-tighten because those intakes, those throttle bodies, those threads, man, thread into some aluminum there. And if they strip, you're screwed, man. Get them snug, but don't over-tighten them. You know, and don't use any gasket sealer when you put those gaskets on here. Don't do that because it can get in one of these holes. It's going to get on that rod that's in there where it has to slide back and forth, and it's going to make it get stuck. So don't use gasket maker on those. It's just gasket to metal, man. That's the way you do it. Okay, I think I went over everything, but engines that fluctuate or surge, you know, that's two words meaning the same thing. An engine that surges, an engine that the idle fluctuates. Or you start the engine cold, the idle is high, everything's fine, and then once the IAC opens, the engine dies. You know, now they say these control your idle. No, they don't. Now the choke, you know, it's like old style carburetors. The choke, it's going to idle faster because it's running more richly on gasoline. But, you know, once an engine is warm, when that completely opens, if the engine dies, more than likely it's your throttle position sensor, your TPS. Your throttle position sensor is what keeps the throttle plate open enough for the engine idle that it's supposed to be. If your TPS, throttle position sensor, is bad, that can make them die after an engine is hot. That, or if, like in your throttle body, it's just got, a lot of gunk on it that needs to be cleaned. The best way to do that, don't go buy throttle body cleaner and waste a bunch of money or choke and car cleaner. Just take rubbing alcohol on a paper towel, open the throttle all the way and just wipe it out, and then all around the throttle, see where it closes, because what gives you your idle setting, it's where that plate closes against the inner circumference of your throttle body, and it has to have a little gap, see, and that's what allows enough air in for it to regulate the idle. But your TPS can cause your engine to shut off, not your idle air control, unless the idle air control was in the choke position to where it was running too rich. It could cause it to stall out. But anyway, that's it for now, people. You know, I'll never give up making videos because I like to help people. And I can explain things better to where people can understand, okay? Because, you know, and I know what I'm talking about. So many other videos I saw, they tell you things that are just not true. These IACs do not regulate your idle, people. where I've heard some of them say that. And one is even a professional so-called site. That's not true. It can affect your idol, but it does not control your idol. Your TPS sensor controls your idol, people, but that can alter your idol. As a choke turning on or a choke turning off type deal. But anyway, hope you're all having a great morning, great afternoon, great night, or wherever you are. I hope things are the best for you. And Jesus Christ is the answer. I love you, Jesus Christ. Bye for now, or later.